This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by Greg Abbott, our honored patron and shiny Switch Knight. Hey everyone, I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Switch enthusiast. And we have an amazing, brand new, shiny Season 2 of the SwitchCast for you. I guess if you can call it that, can't we?
Yeah, we can kind of call it that. I feel like last episode was just so great. I loved having the Chucklefish people here. In a way, that can kind of be our Season 1 finale. It's hard to top that, really.
That's true. It's true. I was going to make that the first episode of Season 2 only, but I could not get this new theme song in time. I was trying to get permission from the HeatleyBros, might I add. That's the new shout out for the music here. I couldn't, they were on vacation, so I couldn't get the permission to use the song yet, but they gave it to me now so we could play that. Yeah, I did feel that last episode was, I don't know, it's probably my personal favorite episode so far.
Yeah, well, not to discount all of the wonderful, awesome guests that we had in the past, but, you know, it's really cool to have had developers who are actively working on a Nintendo Switch game on the podcast. And I know we're going to be able to line up a couple more in the near or distant future, so that's going to be exciting to bring to you guys.
So we've just kind of arbitrarily chosen this as our second season, just kind of set the mood for how we're going to organize things, because I honestly do want to do more episodes like that once in a while, like once a month, get some nice, I'd say heavy-hitting guests for this show here, some real developers, and get into some nitty-gritty, because that really stirs me up. That gets my inspiration. That's the stuff I want to talk about more than anything, really.
Right, and our week-to-week podcasts aren't going to be too much different, but if you guys have any feedback on the format and how we do things, feel free to let us know, and we'll always do what we can to improve for you guys.
Well, speaking of improvements, what I was thinking of doing, I would like to make a new goal for the Patreon.
Ooh.
And that if we hit our next
tier
milestone, our next tier, I will say we will do a Switch Topics in addition, not replacing any of our weekly episodes. So instead of once a month basically being Switch Topics, instead of the regular episode, we'll do that as an extra episode or some other special episode that fits what's going on. Maybe like an event we go to or something like that. But that'll be our thing, an extra episode a month if we hit our next goal.
Yeah, Switch Topics, getting guests in that really have a lot of quality stuff to talk about, and arranging schedules and everything, it can be really tricky. So Switch Topics takes quite a bit of time, and I hope you guys enjoy what we're putting out there.
Also, I know that people have been very patient, and I'm thankful for that. But finally, we have the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Switch Cup is a go. In fact, the first round of races is going to be happening tonight, the day this is posted, Thursday, July 13th. There were 60 entrants. I have emailed half of them for the first round. So if you entered and you have not gotten a time schedule yet, that means you're in the next week's round. But we're just kind of working things out, and I was able to schedule it kind of an awesome way that I was hoping this would work out. So we have 6 blocks total, all of about 9 or 10 racers each. And today, the first 3 blocks are going to race, and the top 3 competitors will make it to the semifinals of each block. So we're going to have 9 winners tonight, and then next week we're going to have another 9 winners. They're each going to break off into 2 9-person blocks that are going to compete in the semifinals, and then the top 6 people from those 2 are going to compete in the finals.
That sounds really good. And honestly, it's kind of a gift that we were able to maybe delay this Mario Kart tournament to a little bit later than expected. This essentially allows us to go back to a competitive game that came out a month or two ago and start rebuilding the hype for a game we all already have.
Yeah, because you know what? Honestly, people, I feel, you lose excitement too fast sometimes. I feel like, we like to latch on to the newest thing. And, ARMS right now, it's really taking the spotlight, and it's an awesome game. But honestly, I like to build up that rapport and that kind of skill set with a game and really hone it over time, like Mario Kart. And I think that there's a lot of people who would think like that. And I don't want them to feel like, all right, I only got 2 months of awesome Mario Karting. I want to, so a tournament like this gives you a chance to shine longer.
Right. This lets us reignite the spark for Mario Kart. And we might even do this type of timed events for other games in the future.
Oh, actually, one of our listeners has already provided us, or has promised to provide a prize for our next tournament, which we will be talking about in the weeks to come, and we'll probably start launching right after this one here. So anyway, there's that. And one last thing I wanted to kind of drop off. I keep forgetting to mention this, but I have a little bit of a pro tip for anyone who uses Gamefly.
Hashtag pro tip.
When you get a game from Gamefly, you can register that game usually to your my Nintendo account and get points if no one else has done that yet.
Oh, really? So you can, even if someone's already registered it, maybe you'll be able to register it yourself.
No, but nobody thinks of doing that. When they rent a game, people don't think of doing that. And every game I've rented so far, I have gotten my Nintendo points and sometimes I'm not the first person to rent it, but a lot of people don't think about it, or maybe they don't care about the Nintendo points.
What? So
if you ever rent from Gamefly, check if you can register that and get the points on your account.
Well, that's pretty fancy. Yeah, it would be worth trying that out.
Yes. So there was that.
Pro tip.
So anyway, from the pro tips into the bro quips?
Nope. No, that doesn't work. Let's nix that right now.
It was kind of a bro quip.
Bro quip? From pro tips to bro quip.
That is not going to be the title of this episode, but let's take this opportunity. Let's go into the playtime and talk about some of the things we've been playing before we got so much to talk about, because we have the Splatoon 2 Direct from last week we want to go over.
Oh, yeah.
And we got a ton of news to catch up on, so let's not waste any time.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so playtime, here we are. I want to jump right into my Oceanhorn gameplay right now because I started playing that last week, and I've been delving pretty deep into it this week, even though I've been juggling 100 games right now. But it has kept my attention. It has just enough story to just kind of keep me interested enough and keep loading it up here and there with the whole missing father, collecting the 3 seals, these monsters that are, reduced humanity to this vestiges of its former glory, and the action, which is pretty good. I want to say this is definitely kind of on the light side of challenge.
Okay.
I feel like this is where I wished the challenge from the Lego games were, where I was complaining how it was like mindlessly easy, that game. This is just a little it's not, even the bosses I fought so far.
You're talking about the challenge. Now, were you able to tell if maybe they tuned down the challenge because they expected this game to come out on mobile platforms where the control scheme isn't quite as ideal as expected?
I think that's probably accurate. I mean, yeah, it definitely was a game made for mobile.
Yeah, and I assume they had to make a couple concessions in difficulty for that.
Yes. Considering your character, he definitely doesn't move as smoothly as you would expect. Because if you're playing this with you got your Switch controller and your joysticks, you kind of expect characters to move pretty fast and fluidly. But you do have a little stiffness.
Right.
And you're not equipped with the ability to roll and do anything crazy. So the monsters you fight are equally as stiff at times.
Right. They don't really expect you to be able to perform twitchy dodges and quick movements on a full-fledged touchscreen tablet. So they had to tune the whole game down to support that type of control scheme. And I don't think they tuned it back up to support the Joy-Con controllers.
Right, exactly. I mean, you do have to figure out a few things, like there's some really big monsters that you have to kind of use a little bit of tactics on, like throwing things is actually a really good power in this game. Like finding things to throw at enemies or finding ways to make things fall on them or get other traps to hurt them for you. Pretty cool. But again, it is a relaxed game. So if you're one of those people who likes those games that are just, not really trying to challenge you, just enjoy the exploration stuff, I think so far this game does accommodate that. And again, this is a budget title. It's $15. It's still an enjoyable exploration. I got to the point where I started leveling up that the travel between the islands is actually pretty fun now.
Okay. So is there actually stuff to do in between each island then?
Yes. As you level up, you start getting weapons for your boat. So right now I have like a rifle, and it becomes a cannon, and you could start shooting at enemies that have started appearing in the water, and it becomes kind of an on-rails shooter, and you could shoot barrels and stuff in the water to get items out of them. And even when there's no enemies, it's just fun to shoot the islands and stuff. Like, it just kind of feels cool to shoot at things. So it helps the time pass pretty quickly, actually.
Okay. I guess the value is worth the amount of the price that you paid for Oceanhorn, right?
I would say so. Don't expect it to be
a Breath of the Wild.
Zelda. Yeah. For $15, it's definitely a budget title, but it's one that's a laid back. It's something that if you just want a non-oppressively hard or just an easy game to relax with on the train or something, I really like it. And I like the little touches. I've had a couple storylines so far. There's a little bit of character development. There's this weird little romance that kind of actually appeared out of nowhere, but it's in there. Okay. It's kind of thrown in there, but it's all right. I like the voices and I like the character, and I don't know. I like exploring this world, and like I said, it's a very open and free to explore kind of thing. So it's pretty fun to jump around the islands and poke your nose around and see what you could find. And it really is like Zelda light. So It's $15 worth of Zelda type fun.
Now, you did touch on Oceanhorn in the last episode, or the last full-fledged episode. In order to mirror that, I'm going to go ahead and let you know about me playing a bit more GoNNER.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went ahead... if you guys don't already know, I've been out of town for quite a bit, and I've been riding on planes pretty frequently now. And I've been bringing my Switch everywhere I go. And I gotta say, the Nintendo Switch console experience on the airplane makes trips really zoom. Once I actually sit down, lift off, and plug in my Switch, time flies so much quickly now.
Oh, awesome. So what was your setup on the plane? Did you have like a charger set up there, or did you need a charger even? Or
no, I felt like my flights were about 2 or 3 hours, which was such the perfect amount of time for a Switch play. And I played GoNNER most of the time. I've gotten to the point in GoNNER where it is mostly pretty repetitive, where you go in, you kill as many units as possible, you die, and then you go back into the death room and cycle it out. But I have to say, the gameplay feels so solid, and people within our Discord chat have been posting their own scores. 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 even. And even when I'm not connected online, knowing that the scores of the Discord people are out there, that was my goal. I was like, okay, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still running through, killing enemies. But now, even without being connected to the internet, I have this score goal. And I just kept playing until I tried to at least match what everyone else is having. That's an experience I didn't really expect to have for quite a while.
Do you feel you're any closer to, or has anyone that you've talked to reached the end of the game?
Yeah, some people on the Discord chat have reached the boss, but I don't know if anyone actually beat the boss.
Okay.
So that's still, something that we all would really want to look forward to. But I just haven't felt the thrill of the score chase in a while, and I'm glad that GoNNER was able to bring that back.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? That because there's only the one boss at the end, right?
I believe so.
It reminds me of, and this is a game I just realized that I would like to see come to Switch now.
Oh, yeah?
I think it could have a nice place, is Downwell.
That's right. That's a horizontal or a completely vertical up and down game, right?
Yes, that was a game, but I think it could, or you could either hold the Switch sideways, or it could be a game that just, they could landscape it a little bit more. That's fine. But that was, the vertical, I guess you could say roguelike, where you were jumping down the well and your boots shot machine gun shells and you picked up weapons. But in that game, there was just the one boss when you got to like the center of the earth as you're jumping down the hole. But since it took so long to get to it, and you had to build up all this momentum, and you had to beat all these stages, and it was really challenging just to get there, that time you get to that boss is really some of the most intense combat ever, because everything, like that last 45 minutes you spent playing this game,
it all comes down to this fight. Yeah, that's awesome.
And the first time you fight him, you're gonna die anyway, because you don't even know what he has to throw at you.
Yeah, exactly. But once you get there, it's this time you invested really builds up the stakes for the final boss. And I do feel like GoNNER is kind of the same way for that. So Downwell, that's a good comparison.
I took out actually today, now switching gears into more puzzly co-op game. The embargo is up now for Death Squared, so
okay.
I can fully dive into a review of this game this week. And this is the co-op puzzle game with the little robots, and you have to find your way around these mazy kind of, puzzle stages and get them to their endpoints. But the real thing I got to do here now is actually I played it in the party mode with 4 players.
Oh, were you able to actually get other party members to play with you?
I've tried it mostly with 2 players, but each player could control 2 characters.
Okay.
And then I did get a couple of... It didn't last because it's hard, but 4 players and all 4 people have control of one of the robots.
Okay.
This is a team building exercise in a box. If anyone has a office and they want to teach communication skills, or they want to teach teamwork and how to work out problems, make them play Death Squared together as a 4-player group.
I mean, I feel like this team co-op is what the game was made for.
It is.
Yeah, this is what they advertise every single time they release a marketing video. A bunch of people communicating in front of a TV screen, working out these puzzles. That's the dream for this game.
Because honestly, and I've played through about 60 of the 1-player puzzles.
Yeah.
And they're not, the puzzles, it's not about really solving them. There is a little bit of cognitive, flexing while you try to figure out how to solve them, but it's not really the point. The point is, at least on solo mode, getting your right hand to do the right thing and not forgetting if you move the left hand a little bit, you're going to kill the other robot.
Yeah.
And that's compounded when it's 4 brains. And even if you know the solution, everyone else needs to be on the same page. Everyone else needs to know, Stan, you can't move an inch to the right. If you move an inch to the right, you're going to kill Carol. Don't move. He's like, but I have to hit the button over here. Well, tell Carol to move first. Like, you really have to work out and coordinate, because anyone who does anything without communicating or knowing what's going on, it just kills the entire team in an instant.
Yes,
and
Stan. Don't mess this up for everyone, Stan. You know who you are.
The simplest puzzles become an intricate, like, circus of, everyone just trying to coordinate and orient. We did not last very long, but that's just because my friends and coworkers did not have the patience to go through it. I do think if you have people who are like
dedicated,
willing to go and die, and who are dedicated to not just who enjoy the chaos, who can embrace dying a few times, who won't get frustrated, like a space team kind of thing. Like, it's that miscommunication or that trouble that's part of the fun. And it really is what was fun and chaotic about Death Square. And yeah, team builder in a box. If there's anyone you want to learn how to be a better communicator with, play this with them.
Do you know if this game has online multiplayer components to it?
Nothing I've seen. I don't think it does.
Because I feel like this is something that if we were ever to get into streaming, Death Squared and Snipper Clips would be something that would be great to stream.
It would have to have voice chat to do it online, because you could never play this without talking.
Right. I assume that's just a given.
Right.
But we can,
yeah, I think a Let's Play this would be hilarious, though, with us. Just like... It would probably break our no cursing rule here.
Yeah, we would inadvertently get pretty explicit. But okay.
Yeah. You can, though, I'll just also note, you can technically play the 4-player puzzles with 1 player. Like, you can just have my left joystick is blue, holding L makes my left joystick yellow, right joystick red, hold R for whatever, the 4th guy. And you can do that like that. But again, it's so much easier when it's you doing it by yourself, even if you're juggling these 4 characters, whatever. It's totally not the same, and it's like 10 times easier solo.
And I feel like the actual intended mood and tone of the game thrives when there's multiplayer.
Yeah, so. But it's still relaxing fun for solo, so you do get something out of it when you don't have that party. It is something that's still... I'll say this much, it is... probably slightly more interesting solo than Snipper Clips was solo. Like, I would never play Snipper Clips by myself, but I think this has still got a pretty enjoyable 1-player ability.
Okay. That's a good distinction.
Have you been playing any more ARMS this week, by chance?
I've been delving into 5 and 6 difficulty Grand Prix. I still haven't played any online multiplayer with the Discord people, but that's not because I'm trying to avoid them. It's, it's a scheduling situation, but
I've gone all in, baby. We have had some great Discord battles.
Oh,
and we have had, and last Switch Fest was just totally ARMS.
Yeah.
We were neck high in ARMS.
How was it? How did it go?
It's intense. Honestly, I have gone back and forth between Master Mummy and Kid Cobra.
Okay.
I'm actually playing it on the 7th level right now as Kid Cobra. I'm halfway through 7th level with him. No, we did arena mode mostly because that's
the most competitive mode. That's the most consistent and competitive mode.
And it was kind of fun because when we were doing that, because we had 4 people in the arena, the other 2 screens, people were practicing their play-by-play skills.
Oh, being able to commentate it?
Yeah, basically. Like, they were even practicing because you could change the camera angles on those other 2 screens.
Oh. Yeah, some people are prospective streamers, aren't they?
Yeah, basically. But they were practicing. Like, oh, he's got him on the ropes. He gets with a grab. Oh, he misses. It dodges into the pound. And, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
A little distracting, but still.
You need hype men for things sometimes.
Yeah, no, we had some very intense matches, though, and right now, I gotta say, Twintel seems to be, like, the character people are...
gravitating towards?
I think so. I think she has a couple of combos of fists, especially those shockers that, stun you, and then they go from that to a grab, and she's pretty proficient with that as a strategy, but Kid Cobra's been my pretty good counter for that, because he's just so... dodgy and he's very unpredictable, and if you can predict your opponent, I feel like you can really take advantage. If you know, they're going for that throw, and you just know to dodge and throw, and it's pretty cool.
There was actually a pretty big ARMS tournament relatively recently, and Springman was the one at the top, but I saw Bark and Bite make at least top 3. So I'm very impressed that they were able to bring Bark and Bite up to such a high level, and I want to get there someday.
And not to spoil a little bit of the news, but did you get to try it all? It just hit today, or yesterday rather, the new update for it.
Oh, no, I haven't been able to try that, but it looks awesome.
I did download it. I've tried Max Brass out. Just briefly.
Okay.
I think his main abilities, they don't explain it in the game, any of that stuff, but I kind of got the feeling he has similar to Min Min's ability, where if you keep charging him up, he kind of buffs up and has like a giant chest, and he gains that unflinching ability for a while.
Super armor?
Yeah, basically that. And when he's at 20% hit points or less, he has the permanently charged fists like Springman, and he also has like Min Min's little deflecting thing going on, I think.
Yeah, he does look like a really cool character, though he is a bit slower than Min Min and Springman, which, carves his own niche in the meta, so.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to trying out playing as Headlock in this one.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely talk about that later.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to talk about that I tried out, I was sent actually a Nintendo Switch backpack, I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a case. Yeah, and this is from HDE. This is actually a pretty cool little backpack. It's the perfect size to put your Switch in. It has a few extra pockets here. It's a one strap, kind of like a messenger bag kind of way you hold it on, but it's a small, compact backpack, which has the benefit I'll say this, for someone like me, it reduces back sweat, which is something that comes up when in the summertime when I wear a backpack all day, especially when I have a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah, it happens.
Especially notable is that it actually perfectly fits the Switch in a case. So if you have like another very tight fitting case around your Switch, it can fit that entirely in there too as well. I will say though, it doesn't feel like it's something that was custom designed for the Switch. While the size is really right, it doesn't have a lot of those little custom features that we're used to in Switch cases, kind of like those individual holders for your cartridges, that kind of thing.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so it doesn't feel like it's necessarily tailor-made for the Switch.
Yeah, just for in some of these little features, like there's a pocket, there's like little mini pockets, and you could throw your cartridges in there, but when you want to get them out, you kind of have to dig your figures down to the bottom and pull them up. But it does have a lot of good pockets. I mean, I have in there right now, in addition to my Switch, you can fit, I have my the grip in here, probably fit a battery, I have my headphones, and you could fit a lot of extra little stuff in here, and it's still pretty compact. And I've taken this thing out on a few different trips. I took it out on one of my Pokemon Go hunts over the weekend.
Oh,
I
nice.
wore this thing. Yes. I took this thing out to the city, actually, and, one of the cool, it has like a little pouch on the strap that's perfect for, my USB charger for my phone, basically. So I had a little battery in there, and I took this thing out. I was meeting some people at Central Park, and I got there early, so I sat down, I whipped out my Switch in here. I would like another case, like I said, to fit in there, only because, again, it doesn't have like that little felt kind of stuff, that material to protect the screen, which we're always concerned with.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who already has like tempered glass or any kind of screen protector, that really wouldn't be a concern of yours anyway.
Okay.
The main thing I like about this, though, is that it solves that problem I'm always complaining about, is I'm always saying how long it takes me to take out my Switch and set it up to play. As opposed to the hard case, even though that has like the bit of protection, I can just slide this thing from my back to the front. Like I could slide it around, pull out my Switch very quickly, and just start playing in like no time, which is really nice to have.
So that's the primary advantage of using this backpack compared to just a normal backpack with a separate case?
I would say that would probably be the best thing is, very quick access, very lightweight, just carries what you need. If you're not carrying like, a bunch of stuff with you anywhere, like if you don't have to have like a water bottle and stuff with you, this is the right size, very easy to use, and at I think it's $20.
That's not a bad price for a Nintendo Switch backpack, to be honest. So it's not a big investment.
I've enjoyed it, and like I said, I took it on that. I've taken it biking. It holds on tight. It's comfortable. I'm probably going to be using this quite a bit now, actually. Any day I don't have to bring my laptop with me somewhere, this is my backpack that I'm going to be using from now on by default. I will say that the backpack should not be worn by anyone bigger than me. Like the length of the strap was just about big enough for me, but I think anyone broader than I am might feel awkward in it. But it looked phenomenal on Amelie over here.
Oh, is she just like a lot? She is a lot thinner than you, then.
Yes, my wife is a lot thinner than me.
Not bad. Okay, that's something to check out if it fits your use case.
Yes. I'll save it for next week, but I also was given by them some little controller covers.
Ooh, okay. There's a lot of those out there.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. So yeah, we've talked about a lot. So I'm going to save that for next week just to bring it up there. But I've been tinkering at those. But they also gave me those, so I just wanted to make sure I note that they've been very, very kind to us so far.
Yes.
All right, let's get into the news because we have a lot of stuff to go over and get done with this episode. And yeah.
News rundown. Let's go.
All right, so the big thing I guess we have for news this week is the Splatoon 2 Direct that we got to watch, or we've watched a couple of times since then, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm loving the Splatoon Direct. It's a great way to really delve into what's in the game and hyping up the game at the same time.
They did present this as a primer for people basically who have no idea what Splatoon 2 is or anything about Splatoon in general. So they kind of started with, and they called it everything you need to know. And they started with the basics. Right. So we got we got to look at some of the fashion and gear, a little bit of that kind of stuff. They showed off 2 new weapon types that I hadn't seen before. The sloshers and blasters.
Yeah, I actually was very relieved to see that they included these 2 very different style of weapons. In the original, you had chargers, rollers, and normal guns. And while, it's a really good dichotomy, I wanted to see more weapon diversity in the game. And sloshers and blasters were a great addition so far.
I think it's just hilarious that sloshers are just like a bucket and you just start like bailing ink at the enemy and on the walls and stuff. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so feels like it's kind of a shotgun blast equivalent.
Yeah.
Looking at it, it really feels like they took balance into account, because if rollers are really easy to just move around and get to, and having a mid-range weapon like the slosher to just throw ink at the opponent while they're trying to charge in at you with a roller, I think it's a good balance choice.
The blasters, though, I guess they kind of also had a little bit of a shotgun feel, maybe like a slightly longer range. The minigun thing was there too. I think we have seen that before, but that thing they also showed off, and that takes it takes time to charge up, but it just mows down an entire area once you kind of get it up to speed.
I really like that they're getting even more creative with the weapons in this game, and
it's a lot of stuff to learn how. It's you got to really pick your weapon, and it just means there's more to learn and more things that you have to know how to counter.
It's understandable. When it comes to this type of game, there's just so many different combinations. I feel like you really just want to start focusing on your team composition and making a team comp that works in as many situations as possible, just so you won't be as blindsided.
They also had new supers for every super is new in this one, and I thought was the coolest was the baller, which was the hamster ball.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. With the baller, you are trapped inside of a hamster ball, and that lets you roll around and even climb up walls that don't have ink on them. And once you get to a certain point, you can fill up your ball with ink and just explode to catch everyone around you in an explosion.
Very baller.
And that's really cool.
Very baller.
It's totes baller.
We saw 2 new modes. We saw tower control, which I think is pretty interesting, and a good competitive mode, I feel like, because it really presents a new challenge to the game where once you get on the tower, it starts moving towards the enemy's base.
Yeah, so tower control was in the original Splatoon, but it didn't work quite the same way. In the original Splatoon, you were on a tower and it just moved through a track, and then once it gets to the end, that's it. With Splatoon 2, towers now have specific checkpoints that they stop at, and that requires you to defend the tower at a certain point before it moves on through the payload. And I think that pause will focus a lot of action in certain areas of the map, and that really ramps up the offense-defense decisions you have to make.
That's true. Like, you can, like, decide, all right, I'm going to set up, like, an ambush where you know the first checkpoint is, so you might just try to prep the area with your ink and then take advantage once they get there and know where the battle's going to happen. That's pretty cool.
Right, and on the same vein, as offense, maybe you can prepare the next checkpoint to make it a smooth transition. There's a lot of options there, and I believe this is why these modes are in ranked. It really has a lot of strategic depth to it.
Is Rainmaker a new mode, or is that also from the other game?
I believe it was in the original, but I think they changed something in it as well.
Okay, so this is the one where you have to get, like, the weapon, the big goldfish or whatever it was, and that's like a special weapon that it's kind of capture the flaggy. We have to get it back to a certain podium.
Yeah, I believe it works pretty similarly. They did make a bunch of gameplay tweaks to the ranked modes to make the balance a bit better, and I'm just excited to see how that turns out.
We got to look at some of the Salmon Run bosses. These things look like nightmare machines, I gotta say.
To be honest, I really liked Mass Effect's multiplayer mode, which is essentially just a horde mode of waves of enemies and then big bosses that you have to face. And Salmon Run kind of pulls from that type of gameplay as well. And I just want to be able to form teams with people and maybe formulate strategies based on the gear.
Yeah.
And like maybe one person can focus on defense with wall-based ink weapons and some defensive moves, while another person focuses on area of effects. That type of stuff.
Yeah, it's a cool team sort of thing. And I gotta say, like, the challenge that these bosses bring looks to be different for all of them. Like, I saw the steel eel, which is that snake that just has the rain coming down from it, and it just makes a path of the ink. It was a thing, and it just looks frightening and intimidating. All these salmons just look really scary, and I feel like it's going to raise the tension as I'm playing it there when I see these things come
Honestly, I'm just relieved that there's just so much diversity to the Salmon Run bosses.
Yeah.
They don't just seem like carbon copies of each other. They all have a really interesting gimmick that you have to work through.
Yes.
And they seem different from each other, which is fun.
And compounding that, we also seem to have some weather effects, including fog. They show the tides rising and covering up certain areas of the map at certain points. And nighttime, where there's just like rushes of very fast troops coming they have to survive. It's a whole bunch of stuff to deal with.
Yeah, it's different settings and ways to make Salmon Run multiplayer different each time. And
also, surprisingly, we got to see what I think is probably the first look at the Nintendo Switch online app.
Yeah, they snuck this in there, that's for sure.
Yeah, so we got to see Splatnet 2, which is in the game just basically a thing that lets you go through, your player stats, see what kind of equipment you've been using or what you've had the most success with, see what times different competitions are, but mostly to communicate and organize games with your friends there.
Yeah, they really snuck this in there, and it pretty much confirms that the Nintendo Switch online app is going to release with Splatoon 2. And I wonder if this type of functionality will be retroactively added to a game like ARMS or Mario Kart. It looks like each game has its own mini app within the Nintendo Switch Online platform app. So that it looks like that's what they're going to start doing.
Yeah, I'd like to check that out. And yeah, I do think eventually they will add something for the different games, because honestly, that's one of the big features that are going to sell people on paying for the online service is this app and being able to organize things. I mean, look, we have fun doing it through the Discord, that it works, but I do think that we could all benefit from having something provided by Nintendo that actually helps everybody organize. Even though I
Yeah.
think everyone should be in the Discord anyway.
Yeah, why not? Obviously, there's still quite a bit of skepticism behind how the voice chat is going to work.
Mhm.
Are we going to need to tunnel multiple cords into one headset?
Mhm.
That's something that the skepticism seems to be quite valid for. But the app itself looks functional and pretty cool, to be honest.
We saw the Shoal, which is the local multiplayer place to play. Apparently, you can do
Yeah,
LAN.
and I love that they specifically focused on the fact that LAN play is supported here.
Yes.
They wanted to make sure that if you're going to make this game competitive, LAN support is an option to reduce as much latency as possible. That is awesome. And I love that I love that they made that a focus on this bit.
But yeah, no, it's nice that you have the option for if you don't care so much, or you're just in you meet with some friends at a cafe, regular wireless multiplayer will do. But if you're like, hey guys, I want to take this seriously, I want to win, or I want to practice for real matches, the LAN option is the way to go for that.
Right, and within the Shoal, local and wireless multiplayer allows you to choose whatever maps you want to play.
Right.
Or go into Salmon Run without being restricted by whatever schedule is out there.
Right, yeah, that's always good.
That was actually kind of a concern for me. When they announced that Salmon Run was going to be schedule dependent, I was like, wait, do I have to play online in order to play this multiplayer mode with other people? No. The show allows for Salmon Run to just be played however and whenever you want. And that was really reassuring.
They also promised 1 year of updates and 2 years of Splatfests.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'll say, and they also announced the very first Splatfest, which will be this weekend, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific. So that's 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah. That's going to be quite a bit of time, and I'm glad that they're doing it so soon.
Yes, and they're doing it so you could download this and actually play it before the game comes out. You can join this Splatfest. Great way to get another demo in case you missed the
test fire.
Yeah, the test fire. That was it.
Yes, global test fire.
And this one, the Splatfest. How do those work again, JV? You want to explain how the Splatfests, what they are?
All right, sure. So whenever you go into a Splatfest, you choose one of the two sides that are available to you. And whenever you play games, you rack up points for the side that you choose. And at the end of the Splatfest, whoever wins, whichever side wins, gets a bonus within the game. Mm-hmm. In this case, the Splatfest sides are cake versus ice cream.
I know it almost reminds me of the Everybody Votes that I always wanted.
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of a way to do that. And I love that they're continuing Splatfest from Splatoon 1 into Splatoon 2, since it really did add quite a bit of community involvement to it. If you went to the Splatoon Reddits or the Splatoon forums, you would see people taking sides, making memes about which one's better, and it's part of a community building experience, and it's a great way to build up, make the game fun to play with some stakes involved.
So, what's your side, JV?
Okay, see, it's not even a question. It has to be ice cream.
I'm so surprised, JV.
What?
You picked the same side as me on something.
What?
I know.
No way. Ice cream? Yeah. I mean, cake is not going to win. Now that we agree on this, we have to address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Which is Off the Hook, Casey.
Yes. So we got to meet our new hostesses of this game, replacing Callie and Marie.
It's a new band called Off the Hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they transitioned into this little music video scene, I was wondering if Callie and Marie were going to come back, but once we saw new characters, it was kind of a bittersweet moment.
Yeah, right.
But once the music started playing and they were introducing the characters, I got so into it, Casey.
I like the way you described it. Like, it was like listening to a K-pop video because they're singing in the Squid language. It's all that like
Yeah.
like that, but a show isn't complete if we don't hear JV sing. But
it got stuck in my head so much, Casey.
But yeah, but that's the thing. Even though it's in the Squid language, it's still catchy, and it's like when you listen to a foreign language music video, you don't care what the words are. It's just the tone and the feeling and the presentation of it all. And it comes together surprisingly well for these silly little squid people.
Yeah, and what I like about Off the Hook is that they do have a different personality or style to Squid Sisters from the last game.
Yeah.
In the last game, Callie and Mari were very explicitly pop idols that, have a very specific outfit that kind of has to match with each other, and they're very cutesy poppy. But in this one, Marina and Pearl are very much into the more, urban, contemporary K-pop style. And it's a great way to diversify those two from the original two.
Yeah, Marina is like a DJ, and Pearl was basically doing rap on there.
Yeah, she was a rapper.
Yeah, which was pretty awesome. And I guess we have to address the fact that Marina is not like any other character that we focused on in the Splatoon series before. Yeah,
she's a humanoid Octarian, which is pretty interesting considering they were kind of the antagonists of the previous game.
Yes, and just from, and I didn't play the previous game, but just from talking to people in the Discord, I got the impression that the Octarians were just kind of vilified because they lost the Great Turf War and were sent to live underground, and they weren't like necessarily bad people, but they've just kind of like become vilified through propaganda over the years because, hey, we won, they lost, we write history.
Yeah, which is, honestly, the backstory of Splatoon 1 is surprisingly deep for what it is, considering it's a primarily multiplayer-focused game.
Mm-hmm.
The backstory was interesting, and I wonder if they're going to stretch that out and expand on that within Splatoon 2.
I wonder, because honestly, I was going to say, I got the impression from what people said that Splatoon 1 was almost like an allegory for World War I. The Great War.
Honestly, there was a dark undertone behind all the cutesy graphics and hip talk and hip attitudes. There was something deeper and darker behind everything, which is cool.
Yeah, right. And we got a hint at the dark stuff that's happening in this story, just with Marie and these really cryptic messages we were getting from her. So, I mean, look, we only have a week away till this game comes out anyway, right? So I will be picking all this up very soon. So I guess it's probably a good idea for us to switch to some other news for this week and cover that. And just get back to waiting in silence until Splatoon 2 comes out, right?
Now, before we go, last question. Pearl or Marina, Casey?
In what context? This is the thing. It's like, I mean, I like them.
If you had to fight for one of the or the other,
okay,
who would you Splatfest for?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, like, they really are both. I like them. I like both of the characters. I do tend to favor mischievous, cute characters. So I guess I'm a fan of Pearl in that regards because she just looks like a troublemaker.
Yeah, she definitely does. She looks like one of those characters. So you're going with Pearl?
I guess so. At this very early point of getting to know them.
Okay, good. I'm glad we don't agree that much, because Marina's like the obvious choice, Casey.
The tentacle hair does look cool.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sure maybe our opinions will evolve in the future, but that's where our stance is for now.
Okay. All right, moving on. Let's switch over to some other news here. We hinted at earlier, the ARMS update is up now. And that Max Brass is a character who, if you're not familiar, he was the sub-boss of the main game up until this point, and well, he still is, but now you can play as him, which is pretty cool.
Yep, and they also added a different mode where you can actually take control of Headlock himself.
Yes.
Now, what's cool about this specific mode is not that you start off as a character as Headlock itself. You actually have to fight for the ability to become Headlock, which is a cool take on that type of mode.
Yeah, that's very cool. I want to try that out because I know I've just heard people saying how fun it is to be Headlock.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Especially as if I wonder if you can do the mode where it's you are Headlock versus 3 other regular players.
I'm just glad that they're adding more modes to the game. It's good to see continued support for ARMS.
And speaking of which, we have 3 new ARMS equipments, and we have the Sky Arena stage was added to it as well.
Right.
We got a cool Kickstarter I want to announce to everybody. This is going to be on for another 5 days to go here. But this is called the SwitchCon, and it is exactly what I predicted would exist. And I think in the last SwitchCast episode, I said that it's only a matter of time before someone invents an actual, very compact Switch dock. And that's pretty much what this thing is. It is a little octagonal, disc with a bunch of ports, and you can hook up the Switch to it, and then it to a TV. So you just need the wires. It also needs a power supply. I mean, so it can't just do it on its own, but it's the device itself can fit in a pocket. And then if you have the wires somewhere, you can pretty much hook this up to a TV rather quickly and easily on the go, which is something I felt was just a matter of time before it came out for the Switch.
Right. What's cool about this SwitchCon dock is that it also works as just another USB-C hub.
Yeah.
So even if you're not necessarily using it for the Switch, it does serve a purpose.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you can back it for $69 to get one of your own, which is cheaper than a regular dock. So
yeah, it might be something to consider. And it looks like they already have a lot of production units already. So it might not be one of those Kickstarters that fade out of existence. Okay. Now, this next story is actually pretty relevant to you, right, Casey?
Yes. So finally, we have gotten the update for NBA Playground, so it can play online at last.
Oh, so is it worth revisiting NBA Playgrounds now that this pivotal multiplayer experience is available?
I guess so, because as I said, honestly, I don't even consider the game to have been released before this. Now the game is officially released in my eyes, and I will probably play it this week. I will try out the multiplayer. I'll also see if there's any other little tweaks to performance, because there were some other little complaints people had, like the graphic converting it to handheld was a little blurry, wasn't quite the quality we expected for that. And some people had a few little gameplay issues, but I will see how all that works, and I'll see how the online works this week. I probably would have played it earlier, but I had like 500 other games to play that released with all the updates I felt were needed to play it.
Yeah, it's kind of... It's not ideal for it to come out and lose such steam so quickly because of this missing feature.
Yeah, you lose the steam because, I bet there's a lot of people who downloaded this game and then just hit that wall of like, all right, I'm ready to play people, but it's not. And they just kind of put it away and they found something else to get interested in.
Yeah, so good luck trying to rebuild that audience again for NBA Playgrounds.
Yes, so we'll see.
Now, speaking of audiences, I'm actually kind of excited about this next one. So it seems like Nico Nico is finally bringing video streaming services to the Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys don't know, Nico Nico is a very, very popular video streaming service in Japan. It's essentially the Japanese YouTube, and it's a streaming service that is coming to Japanese accounts on Nintendo Switches. This is pretty noteworthy because it's the first streaming video service on the Switch, which means it might just be the vanguard for other services like Netflix, Hulu, and YouTube.
Yeah,
which is exciting.
Yeah, and like we said before, it's very easy to make a Japanese account if you don't have one already on your profile lists, and once you do, and you don't want to download this, it'll be fun. Yeah, like I said, you could download it, and even if it's in Japanese, It's probably going to be pretty fun just to mess with and look at some videos on until inevitably YouTube or Netflix or Hulu comes to Switch as well.
Right. So it's a good sign for streaming services to come.
Yes. We have an announcement of a new update coming out, a free update at that for Cave Story Plus. It'll be out in August, and this will add in the option to play the game with classic graphics, which is actually how I far prefer to play this game. As much as, honestly, the modern graphics, the smoothness, just doesn't feel right for this game. It really is meant to be, I think, a little more pixely. But so that's just something that's coming for people to have that option in the future. It doesn't look like there's anything else really being added to it in that, but still, maybe another reason to play through it again and get one of the better endings than you did on your first playthrough. All
right, now Cyber Gadget is bringing kind of a weird peripheral to the Nintendo Switch. Mm-hmm. They're releasing a Joy-Con keyboard to the Switch. So it's essentially a wireless keyboard that has those Joy-Con rails at the side, mm-hmm. where you can slide the Joy-Con to the sides of a keyboard, but it's a full-length keyboard. Yeah. So it looks unwieldy to hold, to be honest.
Obviously, this is going to be something that'll be handy for games like Dragon Quest X, like MMOs like that, and, fingers crossed, dare I dream, Final Fantasy XIV, if it does come to Switch. Because you need a keyboard, really, to talk in those games. That's really the primary mode of communicating with players.
Yeah.
Though, yes, I totally agree that the keyboard size, it being full size like that, is a little overwhelming and too big. In fact, it kind of reminds me, I have what I used for Final Fantasy XIV on my PS3, oddly enough, was my Wii keyboard. I had a keyboard for Wii that was
You had a Wii board?
I had a Wii board because it was for a Monster Hunter, because that was pretty MMO-ish on there.
Yeah, it was.
And it was a compact keyboard, though. It fit pretty small, and even if I had my, controller in hand, I had the keyboard in my lap rather comfortably. I even bought a clip-on keyboard that went onto the PS3 controller, and I could type with that on there. So I've tried some things, but a full-length keyboard does seem like just a odd or a faulty choice.
I can kind of see the use case. You have your keyboard, and then you have the Joy-Cons attached to the side, and you can play and play and play, but if you need to use the keyboard, you can set the whole thing on your lap and start typing, and then pick up the controller again pretty quickly. The use case is there, but it's just so bulky.
Yeah.
People already complained about how bulky the Wii U gamepad is. Mm-hmm. This is even more so, I feel like.
Yeah. I think that it won't be such a big deal only because for the MMO type games that you're going to use it for, you don't need to have tight controls. They're not about twitchy, precise controls. It's mostly just about being in a position, activating certain attacks and such like that. So it'll probably be a little more accommodating to that kind of gameplay, but I still would like it smaller.
Right. Yeah. We'll see.
We got a few games that were shown off to be coming down the pipe here. Head Up Games detailed 3 of their upcoming titles. We got to look at Slime Son. This is another pixel platformer with very simple colors and graphics and a little bit of a trick of flipping around the world and as you move. Earth Atlantis, though, that's the one I've been waiting for. That is I guess you could say, the open world shoot 'em up with a Monster Hunter kind of elements and exploration.
Yeah, we did bring that up previously.
Yes, and has that crazy art style, the very, it looks like an old brown map, like an ancient map sort of art style.
Yeah, yeah.
And Panzer Party, which is a multiplayer arcade style
arena brawler.
Yeah, with tanks and stuff, which is could always be fun.
It could be fun local multiplayer stuff.
That kind of thing. We also got another 3 titles. These ones I just looked at recently. Platius announced a few eShop titles. Let's see. We got Brakes Are for Losers, or BAFL for short. This is a top-down racing game. You can see the whole track, but this could be pretty fun multiplayer. Racing around, you gotta do a certain number of laps and you're gonna be crisscrossing and crashing into each other a lot. Pretty fun. Reminds me of, I can't even remember the game. I think it was called Off-Road.
Yeah, Off-Road.
Yeah. Old arcade game. Old School Musical. This is coming out the 4th quarter of this year. And this is actually a weird rhythm game with different gameplay styles for every stage, but it has a lot of chiptune music, and you have to kind of adapt to the different gameplays and rhythm games they make you play as you go through the story. And Splasher, which is again another crazy platformer with 3 different special powers that you'll have for different stages.
You're definitely not wanting for platformers on the Switch.
Yeah, right. Have you ever seen a Thimbleweed Park before?
No, I haven't seen it.
This is by the people who did Day of the Tentacle.
Okay, cool.
So it's another point-and-click adventure game, but it's kind of got a little bit of an X-Files kind of feel, a lot of dark humor. It's pretty funny. These guys are great writers. This was something that I was looking forward to on iPhone for a long time, but point-and-click adventures is just, I feel like, a lost art form these days, and I do think it's pretty cool to see it coming to the Switch and finding life there.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a good platform for it.
Uh-huh.
Now, speaking of which, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is finally hitting the Nintendo Switch on September 22nd. It's been released in all the other platforms in the past, so hopefully, if you haven't gotten Xenoverse 2, you can get it on the Switch, finally.
Next month we have Troll and I. This is the co-op adventure game where you control a little adventure guy and a giant raging troll guy. 2 players can work co-op and, use each one's unique. It's kind of like playing co-op The Last Guardian almost,
Yeah, which is pretty cool. There aren't that many asymmetric co-op games, and this is one of them.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. WWE 2K18 for our wrestling fans out there.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be coming to the system. They've officially announced that for a fall release.
Right. And Fate Extella finally hits Europe and Australia on July 21st.
Yes.
It's a Warriors-style beat-em-up 3D game in the Fate universe, which I'm a fan of that universe.
Most anime fans will be familiar with the Fate and the what do they call that again? That whole setting,
Type Moon.
Type Moon, yes. And I'll just note that they said that it'll be coming to the US shortly after that European Australian release.
Now here's something really interesting. Platinum Games teases Wonderful 101 for the Switch. Now, I'm a huge fan of Platinum Games. I loved Beautiful Joe, Bayonetta, Metal Gear, Revengeance. They're really good at making beat-em-up games, and Wonderful 101 was a Wii U exclusive beat-em-up game that they made for Nintendo.
Yeah.
And, they recently tweeted out a screenshot of the Wonderful 101 characters playing on Switches.
That's cool.
Which is pretty cool. We'll see how that turns out.
Did you play that on the Wii U?
I did, and it's very difficult.
Oh, really?
It was a difficult game. There was a learning curve to it, and it was not friendly to beginners, but once you got the hang of the control scheme and how everything worked, it was so much fun.
Mm-hmm. We also got an announcement, and only because I haven't followed it in a while, but they've announced a new Adventure Time game and a Ben 10 game coming to a Nintendo platform from the company called Outright Games. And I'll just say this, I was a fan of Adventure Time for a while, but they never had a good game come to any of the consoles I played. The company that used to make them made some very utter trash, honestly, in my opinion, for the 3DS. That Ice King game that they released, and there was another one where, Back to the Dungeon, something like that. It was another dungeon crawly one. they were some games that I just thought were cheap, slapdash, thrown together games that I hated. I'm really hoping, I think Adventure Time deserves a good game, and I really hope that Outright Games can give it the fun, humorous, honestly good gameplay that this series deserves.
Now, they don't have the biggest track record of games. It seems like they've kind of specialized on licensed, I don't want to use the term shovelware, but it's licensed games that aren't necessarily particularly innovative, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And so we'll wrap up here with the new releases. Last week we got a Neo Geo title for Magical Drop. We got Demambo and GoNNER. Demambo was one of those titles that the Chucklefish people were saying they were looking forward to.
Yeah. Oh, wait, did you just say Magical Drop?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I loved Magical Drop on Neo Geo.
Oh, yeah.
I might actually pick that up.
Is that a match 3 game? What is Magical Drop?
It's one of those competitive puzzle games where you pulled down gems of a specific color and you threw them back up in order to explode them, and each character had different abilities, and you threw garbage pieces at the enemy and pushed it down. It's so fun. Yeah, okay, I'm getting this.
This week's releases are Metal Slug 2, classic of the, Metal Slug series and, running, shooting, platform game. Bulb Boy, which is the Creep Fest, exploration kind of survival horror game. Implosion, I believe this is the Gundam brawlery game with the giant robots.
Oh, you had me at giant robots.
Yes. Sheffy, I'm not familiar with Sheffy, actually. And Vaccine, which is an interesting title. It looks a little weird. This is a game where it's a survival horror with a randomly generated mansion. It kind of looks like PS1 level graphics are in this, and it kind of looks like you're playing Resident Evil 1, but the premise is that your friend is dying from this virus, and you have to go and find the vaccine somewhere in the mansion, but it's randomly generated, so you don't know where it is, and it's filled with zombies and mutants and stuff, and you run around, and you have a literal 30-minute timer to find the vaccine and get it to him. But when you get it to him, he relapses, and you have to kind of do it over as the mansion keeps changing shape, and you have less time to find it each time you play it. It looks like an interesting concept, and it looks like it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a hurdle for some people to get over the graphics, because it's not like, it doesn't look like charming old graphics. It just kind of looks like, I don't know, very blocky PlayStation 1 style graphics. So you have to be willing to get over that to probably enjoy this one.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Also coming out today, we should have Death Squared, as we talked about earlier in the show. Levels Plus, addictive puzzle game. I have no idea what kind of game that would be. Flip Wars, which is a fun 4-player, multiplayer, kind of a Bomberman game, but like a little different twist with the flipping tiles. A pretty cool concept. And Blaster Master Zero has another EX character pack, and this one is Shantae, the half-genie hero, and from her own platformer series. So I'm pretty impressed by the supply of crossover characters they keep throwing into that game, and keeping it fresh, keeping it interesting to play. Gotta say, it's great to see. All right, so let's shift over and just clean up a little bit of Community Pulse housekeeping we want to do, and we'll be right back after this musical break.
Still break.
All right, so we had a lot of catch up with this week, so we only have a couple little things we pulled from the social media and your emails, and I guess I wanted to address first. I picked this one out. I thought it was an interesting question from Sean McHugh. I'm loving my Switch, but has anyone else gone back to their 3DS? I forgot how many great games I have downloaded found myself finishing Kirby Robobot last night. Do you still pull out your Switch for your 3DS for anything?
I revisited Pokemon every once in a while, but I haven't felt super compelled to go back to the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, there's such a huge 3DS library. I wouldn't blame anyone for revisiting their 3DS. And honestly, this is probably a good year to finally get your 3DS library all cleared up so that you can focus full-fledged 100% on the Switch next year.
I'm very tempted for Ever Oasis. Honestly, I look at that game and it really speaks to me. And it's the kind of game that if I played it, I'd probably play it solely for a few months. I try to get groups together to play and team up with. I love the concept and the art style. It's really a fun looking game. And if I wasn't already invested in so many Switch things, I probably would be playing that. But since I carry the Switch with me too, it really doesn't make sense to carry two portables with me everywhere.
Yeah. And for me, the primary thing that brings me back to the 3DS is Pokemon.
Uh-huh.
I'm just naturally gonna get the new Ultra Sun and Moon.
Yeah.
So that's it. But I'm pretty much ready to put my 3DS under in the grave.
I do still pick up my iPhone a lot, though. I mean, have you played Star Realms since they updated it?
No.
Oh,
I have not.
They have updated it with new graphics, and there's a whole lot of extra sets. And I've been playing that still. Me and nice guy Tom have been having a few battles here and there, and it's because it's something that I can literally play for like 30 seconds. I can make my turn in a game and then put it away and focus on whatever I'm really doing at that time. But it's a good 30-second distraction, very quick, and then just wait for my next turn in the game. So that's the only other thing than my Switch I've been playing is my iPhone and, well, Pokemon Go.
Right. Now, I would love asymmetrical or asynchronous multiplayer for a game like Wargroove on the Switch.
Yes.
It's something that I feel like you can really benefit from.
Or let's go even, like, honestly, there's a lot of great tabletop games I think could service this asynchronous play. Like something like Sentinels of the Multiverse on the Switch, a co-op.
A shared co-op experience that you can take turns with. Yeah. I think that would be great. And if they bring more tabletop games to the Switch, I would love that, and I'm sure that's something we can all play.
Speaking of some tabletop gaming, segue.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you see the Monopoly Gamer Nintendo Monopoly game? Yeah,
so I saw this, and it definitely looks like they're very specifically targeting Nintendo gamers on Monopoly Gamer version.
Yeah, it's weird that they call it Monopoly Gamer when it's really Monopoly Nintendo.
Now, I got to say, I know some people are really big fans about it, and they asked what our opinions are. No amount of Nintendo fan service will get me to play Monopoly. Yeah. I'm sorry.
The only thing, they had it brought down to the last Switch Fest, and the only good thing I could say is that it definitely is a faster, streamlined Monopoly type game, but that's just like saying, yes, beating me for an hour is better than beating me with a stick for 5 hours, right? It's just like, it's less pain, but it's still not something I enjoy having to go through. And they added the new dice mechanic and supposedly gives you choices, but it's not really. It's just like, there's always a better thing to do every time. It's like, do I want to collect 3 coins now, or do I want to push this player back a few spaces? I don't know. It's just like nothing too interesting or challenging.
Right. I think we've gotten to the certain point in our lives, Casey, where we're really discerning when it comes to our tabletop gameplay choices. Yeah. And, you can definitely see that we're not Nintendo fanboys, and the fact that this really doesn't excite us all that much.
No, I do not care for this in the least. I do say, like, it is one thing I allow myself to be a snob about, and it's board games, because we have played enough of them, and we have enough of a palette and refined our tastes for really quality games that this, the Budweiser of board games, is something that we would never, any Monopoly game is like that. Like, we would never waste our time drinking.
Not to say that people who play this game are idiots or anything.
No, definitely true. It's a fair point. I'm not sure. I'm specifying I am the snob in this situation, and that it's just something I can't play. And I do feel that there are, if you were into this for the theme, whatever, but email me and I will tell you about 20 games that I feel capture video game nostalgia and are good games all in one.
Yeah. I will preface all of this, or not preface. I will suffice all of this. I will say that if I was ever in a situation when someone put a gun to my head and said, "You have to play Monopoly or you're dead," I'd probably choose Monopoly Gamer.
Okay.
If a gun was put to my head and I had to play Monopoly, sure, let's make it Monopoly Gamer.
Okay, fair enough. And speaking of the end, that is the end of this episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
I definitely want to emphasize our Patreon. That's patreon.com/theswitchcast. It really, really helps us with everything we need to do for this podcast. It lets us pay for servers. It lets us keep getting stuff for us to review for you guys. And it's something that we want to keep pushing. Patreon.com/theswitchcast. We have numerous goals to meet so that we can provide more content for you throughout the coming weeks and months and years. So please check that out. Support what you can. Even $1 would do, but any amount is greatly appreciated by us. Please also review us on the Apple Podcast app or wherever you listen. Reviews are the best way to help us out without even contributing any monetary amount. So if you can, give us a review. Check out our Discord chat. A link to the Discord chat on our show notes, and it's honestly a really bustling, troll-free community, and I'm so proud of our Discord chat. And you can also email us casey@theswitchcast.com or jv@theswitchcast.com.
Yes. And you could also follow us and our shenanigans on Twitter. @theswitchcast is our Twitter handle. We have a Facebook group where there's a link in the show notes. And that's probably like the best place to go if you are on Facebook and you want some, news or just to talk to other people in more of a forum type setting. It's a great community there as well. And we have a SwitchCast friends code list. If you want to add people, just go and find that list in the show notes, and you can add everybody there, including JV and myself. And thank you to Essa for the interstitial music and the HeatleyBros for our amazing new intro theme that we will be playing from here on forth. And until next time, everybody,
switch it up!